Welcome to how to create a rocky text collision intro animation in Adobe After Effects. Hi, my name is Jonathan Lamb and I'm a game artist from London. In this class we'll learn to create one of these cool looking collision animations to use in your projects. Starting with how to add a natural rock texture to your text, I'll take you through all the tools and skills necessary for the project, including how to animate the text falling to the ground, and how to add texture to your text. By the end of the training, you'll be able to create your own collision intro animations, which will be flexible and fully customizable. This class is perfect for designers, illustrators, and anyone else looking to have some fun creating some animated intros. So sign up and let's get started. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Collision Intro course. In this lesson we'll learn how to create a rocky texture for your text. So first, let's create a new composition in After Effects, and let's go ahead and call it Collision Text. And we're going to go with a size of 1920 by 1080, and we want a duration of 7 seconds. Click OK. And then we're going to grab the type tool at the top here, and then just simply click on the preview window here, and just type in whatever you want to use for your animation. So we're just going to type in collision as an example, and then just using the selection tool here, just clicking and dragging it so that we can place it into the middle of our composition. Now you can also use the choose grid and guideline options here and select title action safe, and this will also help you place your text in the middle like so. And then once you're done with that, you can simply select that again to remove it. Excellent. Now let's pre-compose this by selecting it, then going to Layer, and then selecting Pre-compose. We're going to rename this Collision Alpha, move all attributes into the new composition, and then select OK. Next, we're going to duplicate this by pressing Ctrl and D on the keyboard, and then we're going to pre-compose this layer. So select it, go to Layer, Pre-compose, and then we're going to rename this one Collision Bevel. Again, select Move All Attributes into the new composition, and then select OK. Alright, from here, now that we've set up our text, we can now start creating the texture. So let's go inside the Collision Bevel comp by double-clicking on it, and then we want to select the Collision Alpha layer, and then go to Layer, and then select Layer Styles, and now we want to select Inner Glow. Excellent. Now let's go ahead and open up the Inner Glow settings at the bottom here, and we want to set the blend mode here from screen and set it to normal. We want to set the opacity from 75 to 100%, and now we're going to change the color to black, like so. Next, we're going to change the technique from softer to precise, and we're going to set the size at the bottom here from 5 to 20. Excellent. And now straight away you'll see how this affects the look of our text, like so. Now we're going to create an adjustment layer. So let's go to Layer, New, and select Adjustment Layer. And then with the adjustment layer still selected, we want to go to Effect, go to Channel, and Solid Composite. From there, we're going to choose a color of black. So go up to the Effects and Controls panel at the top here, and then change the color from white to black. Now let's add a blur to this by going to Effect and then going to Blur and Sharpen, and then we want to choose Fast Box Blur. Set the settings at the top here, so the blur radius to 1 pixel and 1 iteration, and then we want to check repeat edge pixels. Excellent. Now let's go back to the collision text comp, and we want to drag in a rock texture into the composition. So here we've got 2 rock textures that we can drag in to the project panel. So simply click and drag them into our project like so. And now we're going to choose a rock surface here. I'm just going to drag it into the composition. So just drag it into our layers. Excellent. Now for the next step, any sort of grunge texture or rocky texture from Google Images will do. So let's go ahead and select our texture over here, and we want to pre-compose this. So go to Layer, Pre-compose, and we're going to rename this Rock Texture. Once you've done that, click OK. And now with the rock texture layer selected, go to Effect, go to Stylize, and then choose CC Glass. Now with that selected, go to the Effect Controls panel, and we want to go ahead and open up the surface options here. Now under Bump Map, let's go ahead and choose the Collision Bevel layer as the bump map, and you can see straight away how that affects the look of our text in the preview window. Set the softness to 0 and the displacement to 0. And now we need to get rid of the background. So to do this, we need to make sure that the texture layer is still selected. And now we want to go to Effect, go to Channel, and select Set Matte. And where it says the Take Matte from Layer section here, we want to select the text alpha, the collision alpha, like so. And now you'll see the background will disappear, leaving just the text. Awesome. Now let's go ahead and turn off both the collision bevel and the collision alpha, leaving just the texture. Make sure that the rock texture layer is selected, and we want to go up to the Effect Controls panel again and select the light settings under CC Glass. And here we want to change the effect light and change it to AE lights, and this will allow us to light up the text. Awesome. So that's it for this lesson. In the next lesson, we'll learn how to light up the text. See you all there. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Collision Intro course. In this lesson, we'll learn how to light up our text. So let's begin by going to Layer, New, and Light. And we want to choose a parallel light, and then click OK. And this will add the parallel light into our scene. And as you can see, as we move this light around, it also affects the look of our text. So let's go ahead and position our lights at the top here, and we can also click on this little icon here, which is the focus of the light, and we can begin lighting the text like so. And if you really want to be more precise, you can also use these transform position options for the light as well. Excellent. Now once you've played about with that and you've chosen a nice position for the light, the next thing we want to do is we want to add a second light, and this time it's going to be an ambient light. So go to Layer, New, Light, and then choose Ambient Light, and then click OK. And for this one, we're going to open this up, and we're going to have an intensity of 50%. And now for a third light, let's go to Layer, New, and Light again. And this time we want to choose a spotlight. click OK. And we can move this up here like so. And we just want to light up a portion of the text just to make it look a little bit more interesting. Excellent. Now we can also add another light, which is a point light. So again, go to Layer, New Light, and this time choose a point light. And now we're going to choose a color. So open up the color options here, and let's add a color which is 4A7DDD, which is a blue color that we'll use for the tutorial example. And then once you've done that, click OK. And then inside the point light options here, let's go ahead and open up the light options. And if I move this up a little bit so we can see the options here, we're going to change the fall off and keep that at none, a radius of 700, a fall off distance of 500, and we want to cast shadows on. Awesome. So that's it for this lesson. In the next lesson, we'll learn how to add a 3D texture to our text. See you all there. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Collision Intro course. In this lesson, we'll learn how to create a 3D look for our rock texture here. So before we begin, we're just going to look at how we can change the look of our bevel here. So you can see we've got quite a harsh look for our text, and we can change that by going into the collision bevel comp and then changing the inner glow size from 20 to something like, let's say 8. And then if we go back to our collision text, you'll see now we've got a smaller bevel like so. So that's how we can change the look of our text. Now, once you've done that, we're going to go ahead and lock our preview panel for the collision text comp. And then we're going to go ahead and open up the collision bevel comp at the project panel here. So just double click on this. And then we're going to click and drag this preview window to the right here, like so. So now we can see how one comp affects the other. So again, if we wanted to change the look of the bevel, you can see here we can increase the size of the bevel again, like so, and you can see on the left window how that is affecting our comp. Excellent. Now let's go ahead and create a new solid inside our collision bevel comp. So let's go to Layer, New, and then select Solid. And then let's call this Fractal. Then with this new solid selected, make sure that it's at the top of our layer. We're going to go ahead and go to Effect, and then choose Noise and Grain, which is over here, and then choose Fractal Noise. And this will apply fractal noise to the layer. Next to the layer, we want to go ahead and change the mode from normal to additive. So change it to add, like so. And now you'll see how this affects the edges of our text. Now, since applying the effects, you can see that the edges of our bevel are a little bit too thin. So let's go ahead and go back into our collision alpha layer, and we're going to increase the size again to something like 14 or say 16, like so. Excellent. Now once you've done that, let's go back to the fractal layer again, and then in the effect controls panel at the top here, let's change the following settings. So the fractal type, we're going to change it from basic to max, and then we're going to check the invert box, and we're going to change the contrast to something like 85 and the brightness to -20, like so. and we'll keep the complexity at 6. Awesome. Now we have some cool looking rocky edges for our text. Now we want to create some dents in the middle of our text. Now to do this, we need to create a new solid again. So go to Layer, New and Solid. And for this one, let's go ahead and rename this Rock Dents. And then from here, we're going to add the fractal noise to this one as well. So go to Effect, and then go to Noise and Grain, and Fractal Noise, like so. Now let's go ahead and set this layer to multiply. And in the Effect Controls panel, let's increase the brightness to something like 50 or 56. And the contrast to 78. And from here, let's go down to the complexity and change that to 10. And now you'll see how that affects the look in the middle of our text, just adding a little bit more dents inside there. Now, if you want, we can also go back into our rock texture. So go back into the collision text comp, double click on rock texture, and we can actually go inside the transform options here and scale this down a little bit, and then we can see how this affects the look of our text as well. So let's go ahead and have a look what this looks like. And then we can go back into our collision bevel comp and then play about with the settings for our rock dents again. So just bringing up, lowering the brightness a little bit, and increasing or decreasing the contrast to see how that affects our text. And then you'll see as I increase this even more, like so, how we start getting a little bit more details inside our text, like that. So just play about with the contrast and brightness options to see how that affects your text until you're satisfied with the look that you're going for. So there you have it, some rocky 3D text. In the next lesson, we'll learn how to create the collision animation. See you all there. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Collision Intro course. In this lesson, we'll learn how to animate our collision text. So let's go ahead and create a new composition by going to Composition, New Composition, and let's go ahead and call this Intro. Click OK. And now in our project panel, we're going to go ahead and drag our rocky background texture into it. So select the texture you want and then drag it in like so. And then let's go ahead and resize this texture, just scaling it down a little bit so that we can see some more details. And then once you've done that, we can go ahead and grab our collision text comp and then drag that on top of our texture, like so. Excellent. Now let's go ahead and adjust the layer slightly. So select our background texture here, and we're going to go to Effect, Color Correction, and let's go to Brightness and Contrast. And let's change the contrast to 75, like so, just to darken it a little bit, and also to add some more details. Then we're going to go to Effect and Color Correction, and then we're going to select Curves, and we're just going to darken our layer slightly, just so that our text pops up a little bit more, like so. Excellent. And you can also do the same for our collision text. So if you wanted to make a few adjustments, just go to Effect, Color Correction, Curves, and then you can also just brighten that up a little bit, like so. Excellent. So now that you've done that, let's go ahead and click on the cube icon on both of our layers to make them a 3D layer. And we're just going to move into our timeline, just zoom into our timeline like so. And we want to move up to the 18th frame over here. We're going to select the collision text layer, and we're going to press P on the keyboard to open up the position options. And then we're just going to click on the stopwatch icon here to add a keyframe. Bring the third value here to minus 2680, like so. And then we're going to move forwards into our timeline to the 1 second mark, like so. We're going to add another keyframe, and then we're going to change the third value back to 0, like that. Excellent. Now select both keyframes, and then we're going to easy ease them by right clicking on them and then going to keyframe assistant and then selecting easy ease or F9 on the keyboard. With these two keyframes still selected, we're going to open up the graph editor here, and we're going to click on the fit all graphs to view so we can see our graph, and we're just going to edit this speed graph here. Now if this graph doesn't look the same as what's shown on screen, just simply right click and then make sure that you've selected edit speed graph. And now we're going to select the left keyframe here, and we're going to drag this handle all the way to the right, like so. And you can also do the same with the right keyframe, so just drag it to the right slightly, like this. And this will make our animation look more natural. Let's go ahead and switch back to our timeline, and we want to click on the enable motion blur icon here, and then do the same for our collision text. So just click on the motion blur. Excellent. Now let's add some shadow to our collision text. Now to do this, let's go ahead and duplicate this. So select the collision text here and press Ctrl D on the keyboard. And now we're going to select the bottom collision text layer, and then we're going to go to Effect, and then select Generate, and select Fill. Excellent. Now, before we do anything else, let's go ahead and rename this collision text shadow so we don't get confused. And from here, inside our effects and controls panel here, we want to go to our fill options and change the color to black. Excellent. Now we want to go to Effect and select Blur and Sharpen, and then we want to select CC Radial Fast Blur, like so. Now again, in the Effects and Controls panel, let's go ahead and change the amount from 50 to a value of 90. And then change the center value here by clicking and dragging on the second value. And you can see if I go ahead and increase the preview panel here, you can see how that affects the look of our shadow. So we want our shadow to come out from the bottom of our text. So let's move our center above our text like this. Now we want to create a new camera. So go to Layer, New, and select Camera. And let's choose the 35mm preset. Click OK. And from here, let's go to the very beginning of our timeline, just placing the camera layer to the top like so, and then press P on the keyboard to open up our position options. press the stopwatch icon to create a keyframe here, and then we're just going to move forward to about 5 seconds, like so. And then we're going to add a new keyframe here, and let's move the third value to a negative value, like that, just to give it a sort of zoom effect. Excellent. Now you'll see once we've done that, we've got a little bit of a problem with the black lines on the left and the right of our screen, like so. So we can change that by going to our background texture and then going to the scale options here, unchecking the constrained proportions. We can just sort of play about with the proportions here, like so, so that it fills in the rest of the screen. Excellent. And now we can just scrub back and forth to see what our animation looks like. Excellent. Now let's go back to the camera here, go to our 2 keyframes, select them both, and then press F9 on the keyboard to easy ease them. Excellent. So now if we just go ahead and preview the video, you'll see we've got this cool collision animation. In the next video, we'll learn how to add some final touches to make our animation really stand out. See you all there. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Collision Intro course. In this lesson, we'll learn how to add some final touches to our animation. So let's go ahead and select all the layers inside our composition, and then go to Layer, Pre-Compose to pre-compose it. And we're going to rename this Animation. And then move all attributes into the new composition, and then click OK. Cool. Now the first thing that we're going to add is some camera shake. So let's go ahead and select the animation layer, and then go to Effects and the Effects and Presets panel. Now if it's not here, just go to Window, Effects and Presets, and then this should appear somewhere in the screen, usually on the right hand side. And then we're going to type in wiggle in the search bar here. Once you've done that, we're going to double click on wiggle position just to apply it to the layer, and you'll see straight away that we may get some black edges on the screen. Now this is because it moves the layer, the animation layer about. So one way that we can fix this is going inside our transform options, and we're just going to scale this up to something like 105 or maybe 106%, like so. And now let's go ahead and move the timeline to where the logo just about hits the ground. So let's go ahead and see where this is. And it's about this frame just here, like so. Alright, now once you've done that, let's go ahead and add a keyframe for the wiggle speed. So if you go to the Effect and Controls panel here, let's add a keyframe to the wiggle speed up here, like so. And we're just going to change this to 0. Then move forward in the timeline. So if we zoom in our timeline here, just to make things easier. So just move forward in the timeline to where the actual collision happens. And this is something over here. And then we're going to add another keyframe for our wiggle speed, and let's go ahead and make this 1, like so. Now let's move forward 5 frames. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to add another keyframe for wiggle again, and then change this back to 0. So now we'll have a nice wiggle animation for the impact of our collision. Excellent. Now from there, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add some color to the scene. So let's go ahead and select the shape icon here. Make sure that we've deselected any of our layers so that we don't add a mask. And we're going to select the ellipse tool. Excellent. Now we're going to draw an ellipse near the top of our scene. And we want to change the color here and make sure it's set to FF4A0B, which is a nice warm orange color. Click OK. And now let's add a fast box blur to this. So go to Effect, Blur and Sharpen, and then Fast Box Blur. And we want to change the radius to a high radius, so something like 375, like so. And now let's go ahead and add a glow to this as well. So go to Effect, then go to Stylize, go to Glow. And over here, we want to change the glow threshold to 0, the radius to 30, and the intensity to 0.9. Excellent. Now from here, we can go ahead and change the size of our ellipse, and perhaps using the selection tool, just moving it around our scene just to help add a little bit of warmth and color to it, like so. Excellent. And then once you're happy with that, let's go ahead and change the opacity of this. So we can change it down to something like 20%, just to add a nice subtle glow to the top. And then we can also do the same to the bottom here as well. So again, make sure you've deselected any layers here, and we're going to create a new circle. And this time, let's go ahead and fill it with another color. So this is going to be 92D6F6, which is a blue color. And again, we're going to add a blur to this. So let's go to Fast Box Blur. And let's change this to 375 again. And this is just to add a little bit of contrast at the bottom here for our warm and cold colors. Awesome. Now we can also add some stock footage to this animation, such as some dust particles and lens flares, which will also help enhance this animation even further. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope you have fun creating the rock texture and impact animations, and I'll see you next time.